mean, we might as well. Yeah. Welcome to the 2 Decades Too Late podcast, everyone. I am Brad, hanging out with Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a podcast in which we rate and review an album that is turning 20 years old, mostly metal for whatever it's worth, but not today.
Not today.
No. Josh and I each give a rating of 1 to 5 to 4 different parameters for an individual maximum point total of 20 and a combined maximum point total of 40.
Yeah.
And yeah. What do we got? What do we got today?
We have the unfortunate initialism of Jimmy Eat World.
That's the best way to say it. We're in the clear. Now It's on you.
Yeah.
You thought of it, and now you're the asshole.
Exactly. That's how that goes.
Oh.
That's good stuff. Their 2004 album Futures, which is
Would it be weird if it wasn't the 2004 album?
It would be. It'd be super weird. You know what is weird? It's not the 2001 album Bleed American, which I expected it to be.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Well, I'm not going to say unfortunate.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that. But I did listen to Bleed American after this was over.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
Does it hold up?
It's fucking great.
Say there were
so
a podcast in which people would rate these older albums.
Yeah, they'd be getting a lot of 5s. I guess I didn't pay attention to the artwork, but otherwise, yeah, pretty much 5s across the board.
Nice.
But who knows? Maybe this one got 5s across the board too.
It may have. Jimmy Eat World from Mesa, Arizona, which coincidentally is where the Smith family furniture is.
Yep.
Someplace I used my vacay days and someplace near Phoenix.
It's really good.
Active for 11 years at this point.
Shocking.
Surprisingly, yeah.
I still know very little about this band, especially for how big they are and were, I guess.
Well, up until 2001, they really, really weren't. Like, Bleed American was the breakout album for sure.
The deal, yeah. And again, we talked about it a little bit before, but the fact that they had, 10 albums or something?
Damn near, if not. I mean, they had 4 albums prior to this one. So, a Self-Title in 94, Static Prevails in 96, Clarity in 99, and then Bleed American in 01. Still active, too.
Also wild. I knew none of this.
Yeah.
I bring them up a decent amount on the podcast because they're kind of the band I compare bands to, and I don't know shit about Fuck, my man.
Right.
Like,
sick.
Yeah. Like, so if you heard our recent jam session or other episodes with albums this, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I because of Bleed American, they're kind of my gold standard for that early 2000s
non-metal,
punk alternative sort of thing, and yeah.
Which coincidentally, this kind of makes that connection. They had Liz Phair as backing vocals on one of they had that level of access for this. So it's really easy to kind of hear them and be like, oh yeah, I can get on board with that. Apart from metal music,
right? And also everyone that was Paramore, talked about them incessantly when they first came out about being their biggest influence, and just it's everyone that wasn't metal in the early 2000s yeah, we're doing this because Jimmy Eat World.
Yeah.
So, and I get it. I mean, they're just a good fucking band.
Yeah.
They're good.
We'll we'll probably hit on a good amount of it once we get into the actual songwriting and stuff, but like it's solid.
It's incredible. Like it's packaged as a like a pop punk sort of thing, but if you really listen to it, man, they got shit going on. Like
all over the place.
Their musicianship is incredible.
I had a good time like reading the backstory on the recording of this album too.
Yeah, hit me.
Well, they kind of they worked with a different producer than they had in the past. Let's see, it was Mark Trombone. Yeah, Mark Trombino produced their previous 3 albums, and they got through touring on Bleed American, which of course they toured for like 2 years on because it was in every single movie. They were just kind of, you had the ability to stretch that album a good bit, and they got back.
The thing was a fucking monster.
Yeah. They got back and pretty much went immediately back into the studio with Mark Trombino, and then kind of got like, I don't know, 3/4 of the way done, and just kind of
holy shit
started having a fallout or like wanting to go a different direction. Just wasn't clicking, so they kind of searched out some new blood in the production arena. Went with Gil Norton, who recorded artists like the Foo Fighters, Dashboard Confessionals, Counting Crows. Huge producer.
The list is
it's staggering.
Like, it is staggering. That is the right word. Like yeah, it's fucking insane.
They recorded at like, I don't know, 3 or 4 different locations throughout the process. Multiple versions, like up to 10 versions of particular tracks. Like,
good lord.
They had probably like I think it said like 30 songs written, like between, you know, the stuff they wrote on tour for Bleed American and stuff they prepped with Mark Trombino. So like there's a lot.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so we've had some interesting production and recording stories and albums, but they were like those low key, like scrappy, we had to get it done in a basement. This is like the mega huge label equivalent of that, I'd say.
That is wild. That's exhausting.
Yeah.
That sounds like that makes me want to go back to bed just hearing about it, let alone living it. Good lord.
I don't want to.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Wow. I don't really even know. 30 songs is so many songs.
So many songs. And then to have like different versions of multiple songs.
Jesus.
But, I mean, they were on a mega huge label. Their label got bought out by Universal Music Group and folded into the Interscope label. That has artists like Eminem, Dr. Dre, Lady Gaga, Billie Eilish. So like they had access to be able to do that.
An infinite well of funds. Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Just, yeah. Man, that's crazy. And so on the album, we've got Jim Adkins, which, again, like the last band we talked about, Into Eternity, is the guy.
Yeah, for sure.
More or less. You know what? I never made the connection until I listened to this specific album for this. He sounds a lot like the dude from... Oh, God, what band am I trying to think of?
I don't know.
Death Cab for Cutie.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Very similar vocalists, and I don't know why I love Death Cab for Cutie. They're another band that is not metal that I thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah, pretty easy to get into, but yeah.
Yep.
So the rest of the band members they're all pretty much founding members except for the bassist.
Yeah. For a band that's this old, shockingly small number of artists. Like it's not normal.
Hit me with that full lineup.
So we've got Jim Adkins, like I said, on vocals and lead guitar. Rick Birch on bass. Zach Lind. I don't know why, but I like it when people shorten Zachary with a CH rather than a CK. And Anyway, on drums, Tom Linton on rhythm guitar.
What if Zach is
then,
just his name? Like, I actually work with somebody whose name is Meg. It's not short for Megan. Like, just
Really?
given name is Meg.
No chance that's from Family Guy, right? No one is that.
I don't think so.
I hope not.
Although
that'd be the
I think she's around 25, so like
no shit. That is in play then.
Yeah.
That is absolutely in play. I really hope that's not the case. I mean, it's a cool name. Either way, it's just like, do you want to be
well even
tied to?
I mean, even Meg Griffin is Megan.
True enough.
Wouldn't it be cooler
so
if
yeah,
it was
like-
short for Megalodon?
It would be.
Yeah.
Also, you know what? Have you seen that movie, The Meg, or
I've not seen any of those.
one with Jason Statham? There are only two, but the first one is really good.
I can
Like,
see that.
strangely good. Good for Jason Statham. He talks shit about everyone, but has played shitty movie roles for like 30 years. So, and they're good. I'm not even shit talking it. I love it, but like, he really runs his mouth a lot for a person that essentially has played the same character for that long. But yeah, David Campbell did some string arrangements on track 7, which I guess that's interesting because I actually pointed out how good the strings sound on that. So,
Same. Yeah, they're really
well done. Yeah, I didn't make that connection. Then, like you said, Liz Phair on backing vocals, which is that's crazy.
Yeah.
Good for them, man. But yeah, this is so we've talked about this before, I think on the Slipknot episode and then the My Chemical Romance, because I remember Mick giving me personally some pushback because I said Slipknot is bigger than My Chemical Romance, and he was like, I don't know that that's true. And I was like, I mean, debatable, I guess.
Stand by it, but yeah, I guess it's up for debate.
I can see where he's coming from, but I agreed.
My clavicle
I stand by it
ripens.
as well. I didn't see. Why would I? I don't even know why I brought him up. Anyway, but are either one of them bigger at the time than Jimmy E. World? I don't know.
Oof.
Today, I think Slipknot's bigger than all of them just because they kept being relevant for the whole time.
Yeah.
They never stopped being relevant.
Certainly not in 2001. Maybe by 2004.
Maybe.
When was the
I don't
Black
know,
Parade?
man.
It was the...
Oh, that was probably 2005-ish.
I was going to say, we reviewed not the Black Parade.
The one before it. So it's, so I mean, 2005 would track 2006.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, because the Black Parade really blew My Chemical Romance the fuck up.
Yeah.
I mean, just, they were already huge from 3 Cheers, but anyway, my whole point being is that we don't talk about a lot of bands that I'm certain that every single human being listening to us knows probably pretty well.
Yeah.
Like even on this album, you've got the song Pain at track 6.
Yep.
It was huge.
Huge. I think that was the only single I heard from this album, though, interestingly enough.
Same.
Which was the
Nothing
first
else
one.
sounded familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a good song. Oh my god.
Super good. Overall, critical reception of this album is pretty good still. I mean, it peaked at number 6 on the Billboard 200. All Music gave it kind of a 4 out of 5. Entertainment Weekly gave it a B-. One dude on Pitchfork gave it a 3 out of 10. But if you read the review, he's definitely like, I'm super smart and know a lot of references to music. Like, I'm so in
Cool.
the know.
What a douche.
Yeah, it comes off super douchey. The other two are much more valid in their critique of, like, they had to follow up Bleed American. And
Right.
they had to stay relevant and try and top, like, all of the other acolytes that Bleed American created who were trying to copy their sound and doing it pretty well. So,
right.
like,
I mean, which can you imagine the immense amount of weight on your shoulders? Bleed American wasn't just big. It was like, it was a cultural, like, plot point. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
it can't be overstated. And no one sounded like them at all. Like,
No.
even though they were in a genre of music that you would maybe consider like vanilla at times, or maybe oversaturated at times, like, still, no one sounded like them at all. It was like, you knew it immediately. And I can't imagine. You know what? That's how you end up with 30 fucking songs and switching producers after
Right.
recording an entire album, because you're probably like, listen, we got to swing for the fences here. We can't.
I don't know, Craig.
I don't know, Craig. Because it's just not I can't imagine. I genuinely can't imagine. I have no point of reference. Like,
The AllMusic review gives them like quite a bit of credit for kind of avoiding the trap of trying to top Bleed American. Like, they switched producers, they like honed their overall sonic sound, and then like even the band would say this is more of a sequel to the previous, or the 2 albums prior, Clarity, the 1999 album, than it is. It's much more akin song-wise to that than Bleed American. So it's like, oh, don't try, like, go back and kind of rework some of your ground roots. Roots.
Well, so for me, and I don't know how you feel about this. You know, I sent you that thing that what's his name, Rick something or another, on YouTube, how he talked about how music is getting worse or whatever it is.
I hated that.
Yeah,
I hate him and his opinions.
It's infuriating, but I think it's a good conversation, so I'm kind of glad he put it out there, because people are slaughtering him over that, which he knew was coming. Like, he does such good interviews. He has a video with Yngwie Malmsteen that I highly recommend.
Nice.
It's mostly because Yngwie just can talk, apparently, without stopping for 7 hours about himself specifically. Which I would too if I'm Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yeah.
I'm fucking Yngwie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm literally the greatest. Period. Like, almost objectively the best guitar player who's ever lived.
Or outside of speaking Pig Latin, I'm Ving.
Awesome.
Yeah, super dumb.
Yeah, it's pretty great. But he brings up something, though, that I did relate to, and it's about listening to albums and how we really don't do a lot of that anymore. I went into this album through maybe the first 3 tracks or so, not liking it because I wanted Bleed American version 2.
Same.
And then once I realized that wasn't going to happen, I started the album over, treated it as its own piece of work, and loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. And it works as a whole piece of music. I mean, you can't go in and out too much, but if you listen to this thing front to back, emotionally, I mean, like, I was in my feels in this shit. Like, legitimately, like,
Nice.
The tone, the somber kind of feeling that it has, which is complete antithesis of Bleed American, which is just this super upbeat, positive. You know, you got the whole song like, "Hey, don't give up," or whatever.
Yeah.
The lyrics of that song, and it's all super positive. And this is just not.
It is not
that at all.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, I love it for that reason. Like, love it.
I did a very similar thing when I realized the album wasn't going to be like just all the song Pain. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
I need to rearrange my expectations here. Although I will say I don't necessarily love the song order. Like, I think they could have been more intentional, you know, throughout the album with this. I want to rearrange some of those songs and put them in different places.
Yeah.
And I think the album would just have a better feel to me overall. Like, I think it gets a little lolly in parts for that reason.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't remember, like, for me, it had enough ebbs and flows
Yeah.
to where I didn't nothing stood out, but I could definitely see it. Honestly, you know what's weird? I don't think I ever thought about track listing too much until we started doing this.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, a little bit here and there. I mean, I write music. It's hard for
Right.
me not to critique things at a very, like
I wouldn't have put that song. Like, because we've written albums, but we've arranged albums before.
right. So it's, like, hard not to think about at all. But when we started doing this, it's been a big kind of thing. But I don't remember anything sticking out from this, but also, yeah, like I said, it hit me in an emotional spot that I didn't see coming, to where I was just on board. Just so on board. Well, I mean, with that said, we can talk about some of the tracks. You know, it's funny, even Pain, like, is not how I remember it because of the album overall. Like,
Yeah.
on its own, it sounds like it fits with Bleed American.
For sure.
It doesn't at all. I mean, it's upbeat and stuff, like, but it's still sad.
Yeah.
Like, everything on this album is so sad.
If I remember correctly, like, I think it was one of the last songs to be written.
Really? That's interesting. Man, good for them. Can you imagine? This is such a
No.
cool move. Like, I just, the amount of fortitude just to go, I'm not giving you what you want.
Right.
Period.
I think that probably had a lot to do with the change in production, honestly, or producer. Reading the background on it, he definitely had, like, a good hand in the production and arrangement of the album. I guess he's done, like, mixing, mastering, engineering, and all that, which helped kind of inform some of the decisions. But, like, I guess his preference is to focus solely on the production and let, other people handle the more technical aspects of the sound development. So, like, he would interject. They did pre-production, which is cool, and listen to some songs and demos. And then I think I remember reading where he kind of encouraged the drummer to not just, like, be there and keep time. He's like, kind of, explore the space, Gene. We don't have a lot of songs that feature the cowbell. So, like, he really pushed them as artists to kind of step up their game. And, like, the drums are noteworthy. They're not overly complex, but they are noteworthy.
They're very noteworthy because they're just doing, there's a lot of subtle, just, I don't know. I honestly, we're going to find this out if we haven't already. I don't have a whole lot of bad things to say about this thing. Like, because if you really get granular, it just gets better.
It does.
There are some albums that we've covered where the more granular we get, the less I like it. This is the exact opposite of that.
Total.
Exact opposite.
I think it requires getting a little granular, because if you just put it on in the car for, like, a drive, you're not going to stay that engaged, I don't think.
And you're going to drive off a fucking bridge.
Yeah.
So sad. Well, that's cool. And, like, that's what producers used to be back in the day. On the Sound City documentary, they talk about how that's when it pivoted, was in, like, the late 80s, early 90s, when they had no budget. So the producer ended up having to be the engineer and everything else and the whatever. And it used to just be, there used to be a person who would just be there to help the album be the best that it can. And then there were 10 other people handling the rest. And then Pro Tools came along, and every studio's budget dropped off the face of the earth. Which, again, watch that video.
Yeah.
It's a point in there. So that's really cool. And it shows. Because I just can't. God, I can't fathom. It's not like you brought up Lady Gaga because they share a record label.
Yeah.
An artist like that doesn't necessarily have to top what they recently did. They just kind of have to meet it and keep that momentum going.
Right.
They couldn't have done that. Like, they had to go.
They had to do a different direction. They had to
so
do
impressive.
Something.
I'm just.
It was
so
very wise to stay away from Bleed American.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
Dive
I
into
think we were talking
Futures.
about. Yeah. So, first song, Futures.
Whoa.
And
Did
Crazy.
not see that coming.
also, long album. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And some of the shorter songs even feel long at times.
agreed. They they really like their bridge,
Yes.
and sometimes a little more than I would like. I'm not. It never took me totally out of it,
Yeah.
but it was something I was. It was hard not to be conscious of.
Give me like a backroads country covered bridge. I don't want the Golden Gate Bridge all the time.
Yeah, and they gave it a lot. Like, it's like, man, and they take a long time getting to the bridge too. Like, again, it's not a perfect album by any means. It is too long. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it's too long.
Yeah, it could be a couple songs shorter, or
Yeah.
some of the songs could be shorter.
Yeah, like, it's funny though, because like Drugs or Me at track 7,
Least favorite for me.
interesting because it is my favorite. I'll just go ahead and throw that out there since you said it. It's probably my favorite on the album.
All right.
Mostly because I drank too much for a long time, and I felt like the person being spoken to
All right.
in that song, and it, again, feels. I was just feels all over the place in this thing. Like, I don't.
Feels
And,
McGillicuddy up in here.
Yeah, but like, so that song, because of its personal connection, didn't feel too long. But then if you go up to track 5, The World You Love, that felt long.
Yeah.
That really felt all 5 minutes and 1 second. Like,
It did. It lacks some energy. It's just a ton of like down picking guitar, like very tempo-y, and it really doesn't even pick up ever. Like, you think it's going to pick up, and then it kind
you
of
do.
stays.
And it doesn't. It's like Misery Signals making you think they're going to play a breakdown like every 3 seconds and then not doing it. That's how The World You Love is. It's like I'm like, all right, here it comes. Yeah. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Just not at all.
Work, Kill,
Yeah.
The World You Love. Like, that stretch of 3 songs gets kind of
It's a lot.
long for me.
Agreed. And it didn't help because it was my second. Like, truly, I got to track 3 and just restarted the whole album again. That's not a joke. Just because I realized that I had the wrong mindset.
Yeah.
So getting through 3 to 5 on a second playthrough essentially was a little much,
Yeah.
but it works. I mean, it totally works. It's just those songs all sound like a song,
Yeah, for sure.
and it's like, man, it doesn't sound like you just listened to 3 songs for, I don't know, 12 minutes. It sounds like you listened to 1 song for 12 minutes. It
Yeah.
was like, Jesus
Now,
Christ.
if you're really paying attention and you're along
Yeah.
for the ride, like, it definitely is fine. But if you're just
It is.
kind of
It is.
listening to an album, it's gonna feel like a long ride.
And that was one of my main thoughts on this when I was taking my notes down. Like, this is not a. Like, I don't know how you would really truly like this album if you weren't looking for the subtle nuance that's going on, because without it, it's just a really sad long album. Like,
It's a really good point. Like, there's a lot of stuff happening like under the surface, like
Yeah.
scratchy little guitar riffs, pianos, the vocal layering, the tones. Like, but you're right. Like, if you're not looking for any of that, it can come across very superficial.
agreed. The guitar work is something that is of note to me as well, because like in the world that we generally live in, guitar work is insane, but it's like put on display to be that way.
Right.
And the guitar work on this album is insane, but it's not propped up. It isn't trying to like shine necessarily. It's just making everything else a little better.
Yeah.
But if you really pay attention to what the guitar work is, holy shit. I mean, they're good guitar players. The leads on this are insane, but they're not like presented as the main feature, and it's all the better for it. But as a guitar player, if you play guitar or you care about that at all, pay attention on this thing, because it's low key very impressive.
In addition to that, I mean, being Jim Adkins doing both, I think he gives a hell of a vocal performance on this album.
Yeah.
He is doing so much with the choices of how he delivers his lines and the tones that he puts in certain songs. And like, there's some, I forget which song it is, but he decides to do some like a little bit of grit.
And it's so impactful.
Polaris.
Like,
Polaris.
Yeah, Polaris. And it's not grit in a way that I've ever heard, maybe. I've never...
He just puts some extra strain into it.
Like, it's the emotion of it is heavy. Like, very, very heavy. And I probably should have read more on the album overall. It seems like this guy was probably going through something.
I didn't get the sense that he necessarily was experiencing it as much as just like exploring the ideas, maybe. And lyrically, it seems like he's coming from a place of experience, but nothing I read really talked about him having a rough time. It was just kind of like, we decided to explore some darker themes and get into our emotions a little more.
Yeah. Well, and like, it's funny because you know what album this made me think of? They're really not comparable in any other way, but the self-titled Killswitch Engage album that everyone shit on real hard because he wasn't just going, rise up, everyone's good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Howard Jones instead was like, shit sucks sometimes.
Right.
Like, and I'm upset, and I'm going to talk about how upset I am. And that's what this hit me as, because people hated it at the time, but now it's having like, I don't know if like, seriously, that album's having a huge renaissance where all the metal websites are talking about it. Like, man, we maybe shouldn't have shit on that.
Right.
It's an incredible album, and I thought about that when I was listening to this, because I was, again, just expecting, this upbeat thing, and it's just like, no, it's not what it is, and I'm very glad that it isn't. I do feel a little bad because, like, I did a track-by-track breakdown, but it's like...
It's granular.
I feel that.
Yeah.
It's so granular. Because it is a Jimmy Eat World record still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
squarely, like, within their realm.
Right. So, I mean, if you know who that is, which you do, there's no way you don't, and you understand the point of reference where it's not trying to recreate a different thing and they're doing something else. I mean, this is it. This is the result of that.
Yeah. What were your standout songs?
Well, again, Drugs or Me was a huge standout. I mean, Pain's incredible, but that's not a surprise, right? Night Drive is really good. I thought it was super different than everything else while still fitting in its place.
Yeah.
The bass tone is really good on that track. They did like
so good.
It's insane. I mean, we'll talk about the production on this, but like, I don't know what you could say. But yeah, that was a huge standout. And then the opposite version of that, I can't say, outside of Opeth, I'm never pumped about a song being at 7 minutes and 23 seconds like the last track. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's a very beautiful song.
It is.
And I think they fill the time really well. So my initial thought was, God, don't do this.
Right.
Like, no one pulls this off. And I think they surprised me a little bit. They pulled it off way better than I would have expected.
Yeah. I do feel like there's a little complexity with the guitar underneath at the beginning riff, but like other than that, I just didn't feel like there was a whole lot going on in that song. And like my standouts were the more up-tempo songs. I like the slower songs, but again, I want to rearrange it a little bit. But I'd say Just Tonight and Nothing Wrong which Nothing Wrong in the reviews got panned as kind of being a little bit too, maybe not formulaic, but generic. But I thought it was really cool. Like the drums start off, it's a nice shift between some of the slower songs. There's a little solo in it. Like,
No, Nothing Wrong, super sick. And it's funny because, like, that's odd that's what it... Because that's what I wanted it to be.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I didn't want it to be... Like, yeah, please do something generic now.
Yeah.
Like, you flexed your musical muscle
need a
real
minute.
hard. Yeah, right. Yeah, please give me a 3-minute long song that's just kind of a pop punk song.
Yep.
Like, that's great. That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't realize it, I guess, until we started talking about it, that I really gravitated toward the saddest songs on the album for whatever reason.
The
But no,
longest, saddest songs.
yeah. But no, Nothing Wrong is really good. I actually had a lot of good stuff to say about that.
I did
Interesting.
feel like this album as a whole is like very atmospheric. Like if
Yep.
it had a different tone, I would almost call it shoegaze.
Yeah, it's super close.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like adjacent to, but
The
You know,
pop
then you have-
pop shoegaze.
right. And I think the thing that largely keeps it out of that is Jim Adkins' vocals,
It
because
is, yep.
they wouldn't fit in that at all. But if you remove his vocals, some songs just straight up are shoegaze. I mean,
Yeah, it could be a Neurosis album
yeah,
without his
Yeah.
vocals.
legitimately. And then you add his vocals, like, oh no, it sounds nothing like it. Which good for him. He's
Dude,
a very
Do you think we could break
he
that
stands up.
apart? Do you think we could put like Jim Adkins vocals over Neurosis and Neurosis vocals over this album?
man, how sick would that be? Actually, I have software that does that.
Let's do that. I'm curious.
Yeah, when we're done, I'll see if that's something I can pull off. Do I still have that? I don't know if I do. I don't know if that was a free trial or not.
Damn it.
I'll check it out.
All right.
It's possible. It's definitely possible. Like, for sure.
Sick.
I'd have to find a Neurosis song that's less than like 12 minutes long, so I don't know how
Yeah,
how successful I'm gonna be, but
that's fair.
I'll give it a shot. Yeah, I mean, also the song "Kill" at track 4. I've never had a song not start off. How do I want to say this? A song called I would never expect a song called "Kill" to start off like that. It is the opposite. I'm like conditioned to see a song named "Kill" and think of like Cannibal Corpse, and
Right.
instead it's like, oh no, it's not even upbeat. It's actually super super slow.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah. I don't know.
Kill
Do you
the
have-
lights.
do you-
Kill the lights.
It's sad.
Super.
Still sad.
Yeah.
It's going to be sad forever. Though,
Forever.
I mean, Better Lovers I think they already finished recording another album,
Sick.
like a full length. Yeah. So, we got that. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And then his bullshit thing that he's doing. God, it's awful. It's not good. I don't know how such a talented person can be a part of a band that sounds so bad.
Yeah.
Like,
We all
eh,
make bad
what are you gonna do?
choices.
true.
Review?
Strangely, it seems like he made good choices and it backfired. As far as I can tell.
Sometimes that happens.
It does. It does. But yeah, let's do the review.
Review!
Yeah.
Crinkle cut fries.
What is that from?
I don't
Or
know,
did
it
you
just
just
felt
say
like saying-
crinkle cut fry? Oh, welcome back to Crinkle Cut Fries, the podcast that's more salty than you can handle. More salty? Saltier? I don't know.
Ah,
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't
no,
matter at
could not matter less.
all. What did you think of the artwork for Futures by Jimmy Eat World? I can't believe you. I wish you never told me about the initial lyrics.
On this JEW album.
Time juice. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
the artwork. Geez. I gave it a 4. I don't. So like, yeah. It didn't hit me in a way that I could give it a 5. Like, it's just not that much of a standout. But like, it's super solid. I love the fact that Futures is in color, albeit like a very, very light blue, and like I like the black and white with just the light on in the telephone booth. That's what that is. For our younger listeners, you would sometimes have to go stand outside in a box with a telephone that you would have to put money into, change, not even like paper money, like change. Physical metal coins. I was just thinking about this, sorry for this weird tangent, but on the song Darkest Hour, Payphones and Pills, I was like, there's some people that aren't going to know what that means. Like,
no.
You talking like track phones? Like a pay phone? Like,
man, that's insane to think about. You'd go in, there'd be a janky as fuck, like, phone, what am I trying to say?
Phone book?
What's the phone book?
On a chain.
Oh, man, like, they don't know what a phone book is.
3-inch thick, like thicker than the Bible, depending on where you live.
Right? And yeah, on a chain with a bunch of dicks drawn on it all over the place.
So many dicks. Coincidentally, no dicks featured in this image, which is good. Although it does appear that somebody has written out of order in the dust, which I think is a super nice touch. So like,
it is.
I think it's a really compelling graphic for this album, and it definitely fits, like, you know, it's black and white, and it's mostly dark. It fits the dark tone of the album really well. I don't know why I didn't give it a 5, but
well, I did.
Damn. Good.
Also, it's one of those album covers. The interesting part of it for me is that if I were to judge this without listening to it, I'd give it a 3.
Yeah.
And then if you listen to the album, it's like, oh, I absolutely get this in every way, shape, and form. Like, it's perfect for what the album is. I don't disagree
with you, by the way.
No, well, I mean, the differences between a 4 and a 5 I think, we both agree that this is super good. It is. Math.
Also, an
it's
infinite
really good.
Number of numbers, weirdly.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all. Production then versus now. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you I gave it a 5.
Yeah, how could you?
It's incredible. Now, sometimes I find it unfortunate that these types of bands have the means to make an album that sounds amazing. But in this situation, I'm very glad that they did, because God, it's such a good production.
It's perfect. It just is. Like, every instrument sounds amazing. You can hear everything they're doing. They're layering vocals, which I think it's weird. Like, thinking back on it now, like, he's always doubled, right?
He doubles a lot, okay. Yeah. But it's the time that he does it, unlike Misery Signals, is always, it seems intentional and is kind of impactful, rather than just stupid, just really, really stupid. But I mean, it's such a, Anyway.
Yeah. Impact at the
time? 1, probably.
Okay.
I mean, maybe, well, I don't know. I could be talked into almost any number on this, because it's like, I listened to them and liked them in the moment, even for my cynical, however old brain at the time.
Right.
That really tried not to like things that weren't metal. I liked them anyway. They broke through that. But I don't know if I would call that impactful.
So
I don't.
I landed on a 2 for much the same reason. Like, Jimmy World kind of let me branch out of what I was listening to. I don't know why them specifically. Maybe it's because they were so like ubiquitous throughout the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But like the songs that they had, like, oh, like there's some musicianship here. Like there's things to be taken away, and we played Rock Band until we both probably went through like 3 to 4 drum sets.
Yeah, that's no joke. You know what? I just talked myself into a 3 because
boom.
I think they were one of the earlier bands to make me realize that I more value talent over a specific like place to put you.
Right.
And then because of it, I mean, there's no way Paramore would have sounded like they did without them. And God, I love Paramore.
Yeah.
And at the time, I loved Paramore. Speaking of, when did Misery Business, that album, not Riot, when did Riot come out?
Either 04 or 06. I'm doubtful it was 04 because I think we would know that. Like, I think it'd be on the list for that reason.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If like, I would feel really terrible if we missed that. 2007. That is a lot later than I expected.
I was going to say, I think we had graduated because I was like, high school.
Yeah.
But how much did you enjoy listening to this album, Brett?
4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was not perfect, but it definitely couldn't hit a 3. It's definitely more than that, but I know I couldn't give it a perfect score because there are some times where I'm like, what do we...
Kettle's on.
What's the... Yeah, right. At long last is... what's that line from Avengers Age of Ultron? At long last is taking an awfully long time, guys, or something like that. I don't know. It's applicable here. I just can't think of it. What about you, though?
I gave it a 3 for much the same reason. Like, there's definitely some serious bright spots, and I actually listened to this probably like 5 times, and up until the last listen, I was not being very granular. I was just kind of like, oh, I know what Jimmy Eat World is, and then I was like, man, this sucks. But like digging into it, I was like, oh man, this is incredible. But then that wore off a little bit, and I was like, God, this is long. So I gave it a 3.
That's super fair. I can't poke a hole in that. It wouldn't have been difficult for me to land on a 3 either. I just I don't know what it was. I must have just been having a day.
Right.
When I listened to it, and it was just like exactly what I wanted in that moment.
And there's definitely times where this album would be exactly what you want. And there's other times where this album would be like, all right, next out, I'm going to listen to Bleed American.
Right, exactly. Which again, right after I did. Mostly I needed to because it kind of low key crushed my soul in a good way. But like I was finding my reflection far too often in some of that stuff, and I was like, oh, I need to listen to something positive, or I'm just gonna go to sleep at 2:00 in the afternoon. Yeah. All right, cool. So you've got a score of 14. Yeah. I've got a score of 17 for a very formidable 31.
That's solid.
That is solid. Well done, JEW.
Yeah. Yep. Well done indeed.
Man. Oh, man. All right, what was your favorite song?
My favorite song was Just Tonight, the second song on the album, as is increasingly often the case, I'm realizing.
Okay. You know, I'm kind of torn because, like, I think objectively, Pain is probably just the best song on the album from just a single song perspective rather than like a album as a whole perspective. But
it can most easily be extracted from the album and still stand alone.
Yeah, but at the same time,
you already said Drugs Are Me.
Yeah, it's Drugs Are Me. Yeah, I can't.
I'll choose drugs.
I mean, if I'm the me, I'm choosing drugs. But yeah, you choose drugs. Get the hell out of here. All right, just tonight, Drugs or Me. Those are our favorites, and we'll be going on to our TDTL favorites playlist on Spotify.
Boom.
If you so choose, it's there. It's interesting. It gets more interesting. Now we're going to have...
Sprinkle in a dash of...
I can't... I would do anything to go back and you not tell me the initialism of the band.
Yeah.
It's just, I never would have thought of it.
Which is weird. Like, they've been around for a long time.
I mean, it's right there. It's right. It's
right
ready.
there.
It's super easy. But yeah, Jimmy Eat World.
Jonas enjoys watermelon.
Oh, man. Yeah. James and the Giant Peach will be on our favorites alongside bands like Pig Destroyer. So it's a pretty good time.
It's a good time.
Check us out on Instagram, TDTL_podcast, where we, I don't know, post stuff sometimes.
Yeah, we definitely.
Not even often. But we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a thing.
It's a thing. Yeah, apart from that, I guess
to play us out.
To play us out. What the fuck does that mean? I'll wrap up as I so often do with like the last line of the All Music review for this album. These guys just crush it every time. They say, Futures will most likely not be the sensation that Bleed American was. It's too dark and inwardly focused for that, but it shows a progression of sound and emotion that fans of the band should embrace.
God damn, they know how to do it.
Right?
We are all playing for second.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So good. And I guess with that, he's been Brad, I've been Josh, and we've been 2 decades too late.
Boom.
Kaboom!
Boom.